Oh, sorry. Just find the spot, Steve, and we'll give you an name tag.
No, you're good. I don't want to.
You're straight for all.
People think pick it up on the end. I'll just sit up for it.
I had a chair up here.
I don't know about that.
I don't have mine in the car. I should turn it off.
It says
I
power
can find you another chair.
and sometimes it comes back on.
Is that the one you took out to your office?
Well, mine, you can turn the volume down, because you don't go into active 911.
We had to move down here.
It'll
Carpeting.
still go off everybody,
So we were down here for 3
unless
weeks.
you go in that,
And we-
their whole program, where you know, shut it off.
Over here.
I just don't, so I learned now, just set your power off.
I missed the last meeting. Was it a hot one?
No,
Good.
get done.
I was in Florida.
She was. And you can miss me, I went to that. Well, they had another meeting day, but I
He's
just.
not gonna live in Paramount.
So did they make each meeting?
So they called me and they said, by the way,
I really don't care if you're running back. Because the way I look at it is, say, this is it, why can't I give a little bit, one done, one?
they told you that's not going home.
I know what I had that. And I started looking at myself.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, wait,
You need
wait,
a
wait.
kid too, and your kid also shut
I'm like,
down. So my dad's trip, life's waiting on her to go. She did that. Ryan, the guy who did everything, my dad in town, holding our.
I hear that.
I'm ready for a town.
Yeah. So, why went over Eric's on it? Eric take Ryan's spot?
I'm trying not to run anybody over.
Ryan took over as the superintendent.
Right.
Superintendent retired.
I guess if you want to go closer to the other where I can talk to you.
That's okay. He was on $64 a job back. So good.
we told them.
Sure.
They'll try to find a way to see them.
So, when he stepped down, and Eric wanted to come on.
Mercy.
The other guy was fine. That was on six. I'm trying to get him to go back down to reality.
Right.
And Darren Ryan stood down here. Actually, Eric was rotating just about a year. Because they were in
I've been busy.
So it's hard with my work.
Oh, I've been busy. My
When
youngest
I get down
son.
here, I'm going to go to
Right.
bed. You know, I got up Friday morning.
So he was
Got home
gonna take
late
it
in
over.
the evening on Friday.
And Mom said,
Cause I went to the fire department.
Well, his dad did Creon, was here forever. Eric's on the Fairmount Town, Eric Creon. And he was talking about Eric taking the Fairmount spot. So Dick was on the legacy.
right? That's what I thought. I would write it because they told me I got to appoint.
Those last
Eric
ones,
over
it's already.
And I thought, well, I would like to
I
have
did
Eric
weed the
here.
first week, I should have.
But then again, with her
So I got out
resigning, and leaves the police
and
department.
raised his little
Eric
area.
is a state police officer. It's kind of like, you know, like this, I'm like, ready to get court and I split it.
Right.
We're back.
I said, no, we had to, I gotta get ready for my meeting down here, and I'm just ready to get again. Paperwork, and then I gotta get stuff. For the district meeting. Should have been on there.
It's hard to just call in on second.
Gotcha. You say when.
How are you, Bo?
Doing real well. I'm getting sworn in.
Finally.
Took my dad to
Same motion.
Sorry to hear that.
Change Sigmund or something.
It seems like hell. 2 years.
No.
Might as well.
Everything else that I need. Finally after the meeting.
Hey, I got told, the last call was 5G.
It don't cost to pay if we get in trouble.
Thank you. He said the old fire chief was still kind of over the.
Hey. Mr. Bree.
I see you sign up.
You know that, all right. Your phone card, and next thing I know, the chief's calling me. What is this? So cheap. I don't have policy letter. This is.
Can't email updates to
One I
us.
should have, but.
Yeah, I have all these questions.
Sometimes you're better off just to take a knee.
You're welcome. Director's report. I mean, I guess.
Direct us.
It's not me. The low man on the protocol, I just pass out papers. You want me to give one of the copies?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Here's the actual.
This is just the director's report I emailed out to everyone, so you guys got a copy.
Let's call this meeting in order, where everybody sign their cell phone, which stand for pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
have a roll call?
Bothwell.
Here.
Frankel.
Here.
Reedy.
Here.
Cottle.
Here.
Couse.
Here.
Crouch. Florence. Hedrick.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Mowry. Knuckles.
Here.
Todd.
Here.
Maynard.
Yes. Okay. You all had a chance to look at the minutes. Instead of asking Ryan tonight to read along with the minutes, do we have approval of the minutes?
I read through the minutes, and they appear to be correct. I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Brenda, roll call.
Bothwell.
Abstain.
Frankel.
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
Cottle.
I wasn't here, I should have stayed.
Couse.
I'm sure
I'll abstain.
Hedrick.
Abstain.
Hicks.
Yes.
Knuckles.
Abstain.
Todd.
Yes.
There's 5 abstaining. It's gonna be a tie. Right after Rex.
There's only 4 positive, like I say, you need 7 to get anything. Just because you missed, you don't have to abstain.
Okay, I thought I did. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you don't have
That was
to.
my understanding too.
Yeah.
That's just tradition.
Yeah.
So,
We need 3 more votes to pass it.
Well, I would like to correct them to yes then.
okay.
I would also.
We need just one more.
I'll go ahead and correct my vote as presented.
Do it.
All right. So I make 7. 7.
Okay. We're gonna go to the document 4.1, document 01PP/FP/22, minor subdivision, Wilderness Run. You wanna tell us about that?
Brenda's been working with Mr. Wimmer on this one, so I'm gonna let them do it. I got, the other 3 are mine.
Okay. Come on up, sign in.
I have Mr. Cole Chandler with me. He's desiring to split off his existing house. However, due to the requirements, too many splits have already been taken out of the parent tract. So we have to plat as a 1-lot subdivision. It'll be a 3.12 acre lot.
Anybody got any questions for him?
So this is coming off of one of the properties on either side? It's being split
Yes.
off?
If you have an L-shaped property directly behind it, it goes up along the west line, that's directly behind it. It's a total of about 10-acre piece, and we'd like to sell his house. The only way to do it is create the subdivision.
Anybody else got any questions?
I have a question about process. Ordinarily, major and minor subdivisions are a two-step process. But my understanding is that a minor subdivision wouldn't do step one and step two in the same, is that correct? You
Yes,
might
for minor-
explain to us what the process is.
For minor, and Mr. Wimmer, I believe, was here once before. He's also been to the commissioners and coming back a second time to us.
Well, actually, I went to the Commissioners Drainage Board.
Or drainage, okay. I knew I'd seen you at 3.
Yeah.
We would need to take action and move it to a second reading and then take action again. Is that, I'm trying to get the process, what we need to do for a subdivision.
It's supposed to be, actually, I think in the past with all the minor ones, we've just done them in one meeting.
Right. But we do both steps in one meeting.
Yeah, I believe,
Is that correct?
I believe so. I mean, it's,
With everything we've had going on, we
It's
kind
been-
of split the load this
It's been a couple
month.
years since we did one, so.
Mr. Wimmer showed up to the commissioners meeting and presented it, and I thought, am I supposed to be doing that? So that's kind of where he's been working with Brenda on this process.
I'd make the motion, Mr. President, that we move this request to a second reading.
Do we have a second?
I'm second.
Roll call, Brenda?
Bothwell,
Yes.
Brinkle,
Yes.
Reedy,
So that second reading's gonna be tonight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cotto,
Yes.
House.
Yep.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
So at this point, we will probably be in a position to consider, discuss among ourselves if there are questions or comments. I'd like to know, Mr. Blau, what your recommendation is, for approval. Or not. This is one of those things that we have jurisdiction.
Right,
This is
right,
final step,
for
right?
subdivision, right.
What is your recommendation after having looked?
I have no issue with it. We did have one phone call that there was a problem. They were worried about numerous homes going in this location, but that is not the case.
If anything, Cole can answer.
Yeah, my plan is if I were to ever sell my home, I want to keep the back portion of the property for recreation. I'm an outdoorsman, I deer hunt. That's where I've deer hunted my entire life. Since I was 8 years old, I don't want to sell the back half. That's my purpose for
You
doing
got big
this.
ones back there?
Killed some pretty nice ones there. Don't go back there, it might be your last time you ever go back.
I've got a place like that too.
Don't bother me, I won't bother you.
Anybody else got any questions?
Would that need to be stated in writing somewhere that there would be, that this is understood, that there will be no additional housing on the property and is split off or back? I mean, do we need to have some kind of guarantee of that? And would you be willing to do that?
So when you say split off, would that be the property where the house is currently or on the other property?
On the property that you're splitting on? You're only gonna have your single house on the 3.2, correct?
Well, I'm not planning, I have no current plans to sell either one. I just want to have the freedom to do so. If I ever did want to sell my home, I want to be able to keep that other property. And I'm not saying that I would never build a structure on that other property. That's not 100% out of the question. That's not my current plan though.
So that back property, you wanna say, is there access then from a county road to get back there?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, there's a 50-foot strip along the west side.
So you'd be talking more of a covenants for that one, that no more than one residence would be present.
The actual subdivision would be where the home is currently sitting though, correct? Yes.
yeah, I don't think we would be able to allow more than one home unless they came back to want to subdivide it again, and then we'd have
Unless
to deal
somebody's
with it
gonna
at that
build in the
time.
front yard of that home.
The only way, more than one home could be put on the remainder would have to be subdivided again.
Right, and then,
And, or we have to actually create, we've got a 50-foot strip or roadway,
Mhm.
but it would have to actually be dedicated
to get back.
as roadway and subdivided further. And really, there's probably be only space for one more home back there. And it's only got one high point on it, so.
Yeah, I don't see it being a problem.
Any other questions, sir? So we have a motion to move it.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that. Not a problem.
A second.
Yeah.
Roll call, Brenda.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
House,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Next document is 05Z/22, request of zoning changing from residential 1 to agricultural.
So, Eccles?
Yeah.
Eccles? Nicole hands some pictures out that I got. We had to get these to you guys before I could get pictures and everything taken, so she's just handing out a few pictures. This is a petition for Mickey and Holly Eccles. It is for a zoning map amendment for rezoning from the current R1 residential to an ag zoning district. The Eccles are wanting to open a small car repair shop / business. It is located at 2729 Shellmeyer Road, Marion, Indiana.
Ryan. It ended right there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I printed it off. For this property, one of the things I noted, and I'm sorry, evidently, I printed off enough for the BZA and not the APC. There are several square miles located around this property that are also zoned A1, but are actually an agricultural use. The second picture, and here I can give you another two. You guys got enough to see? From our original conversation, we had talked about this would possibly be more of a hobby and doing classic cars. Then following that, he wants to make it into more of a full-time auto body shop. And also noted that there's large zone areas of agricultural zoning located within a quarter mile of this. One of the things that he's going to have to do is he's trying to rezone it over to agricultural, and then we'll have to go for a special exception in front of the BZA to do what he's doing. Again, if you've got the pictures, I kind of took pictures to show north, west, east, south. Closest homes located are a quarter mile or more away. For the most part, this is an isolated property. Again, everything surrounding the property is all R1, but actually being used as agricultural. So staff would put forth a favorable recommendation pending any type of opposition. We did receive a letter in opposition that they basically stated that they had another type situation that happened over more towards Sweetser, that evidently we allowed a shop to come in and they wanted us to see pictures. And again, I think I only did 7. Or if you want to have them shared. Again, we received this last Thursday, so that's why it wasn't in your packets. So I, again, note with what you're receiving is a letter that we did receive, but it is not Mr. Eccles' property. This is an example of another property, and they fear that it may turn into what you're looking at now.
That actually would be more appropriate for the BZA for the spatial exception, this kind of thing.
Right.
All we would be doing would be making a possible for him to make applications for exception with the BZA.
I think I know what property that is.
Anybody got any questions for him? We have no questions. Do we have approval?
This is a public hearing, there should be a time for opposition, right?
Right. Well, and did you want to, he
Okay, you
should
want
have
to
the
talk
opportunity to
about it?
also speak.
Oh, I don't have much to say, to be honest with you. I'll take good care of my property, and I don't intend to turn it into a junkyard by any means. So,
I think we're done with you.
all right. Thank you, folks.
Anybody here against it? Look like we have nobody here. Any discussion?
I don't see anything wrong with this. I think his goal is to eventually be able to service farming community, would fit into that area, kind of isolate it out to where his customers could potentially be. I have no issues with it.
I agree, I think it's a good location.
So we have approval to move it on?
I'll make a motion that we recommend a favorable, or we do this, or is this, no, this goes to the commissioners, right?
No.
Right, well,
The
we're
zoning-
going to rezone it, so I'm going to be hopping everywhere. we'll recommend the rezoning, then I've got to go to the commissioners
Right.
to rezone, and then I go to the BZA
Well, yeah,
for the special
right,
exception.
but we're just worried about zoning here.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to the rezoning of this property.
Do we have a second? Roll call.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Cows,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Now we'll go to document 06Z/22. Request of zoning changing from residential 1 to mobile home.
Well, again, I think I did 7. I had the BZA on my mind today. What we've got here, this is a zoning map amendment from the current zoning is I-1 to mobile home park. We've had discussions in past meetings that we keep running into improperly zoned areas. Larry Bright is the owner. We actually, on this one, we actually asked Larry to come in. We didn't charge him for this. We received a phone call. Larry owns Shady Acres Mobile Home Park over off of 39th Street. We had someone interested in buying it that called in to ask for how many lots were available, how many trailers they could put in. And why we were pulling all of that up and looking at all of that, we found out that the entire mobile home park is actually zoned I-1, Industrial 1, which would not allow mobile homes to be installed. This mobile home park has been established in 1950. We got the original documents, so it has been there since 1950, but the entire mobile home has been zoned I-1. So what we asked Larry to come in to talk to you guys about rezoning so that if he would look to sell it in the future, he doesn't run into that problem.
Any questions?
I think we're just correcting a clerical issue that happened 50 years ago.
No questions? Do we have approval?
So moved.
Got a motion, second? Or you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are again in a public hearing, so we need just,
Okay,
we need to allow Mr. Wright
okay,
to speak to that and then see if there's opposition.
okay, so you can sit down.
I do what?
Would you like to speak to this?
No, I didn't even know about it. He called me. I thought everything was okay.
Want to look at the opposition, ask if there's opposition, then you need to close the public hearing.
He go ahead and sit down.
Huh?
Go ahead and sit down.
We have anybody against this?
Thank you.
Nobody against it? I say public is closed. We have any discussion between ourselves? If not, do we have a motion?
I so move approval.
I'll second that.
So we have a second. Roll call.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Cows,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Now we'll go to document 07Z/22, request of zoning changes from R4 to general business. Sweetser United Methodist Church.
Okay, so you'll probably remember this one from the digital or animated sign. Sorry. If you wanna come on. We were able to, they actually withdrew their petition for an animated digital sign from the BZA to give us an opportunity to get it passed and recommended up through the APC to the commissioners. So we have now done that. Commissioners approved it. Town of Sweetser, I believe, just
Just
approved.
signed on it last Thursday, the digital sign ordinance.
So they adopted it also. The one thing that we have now is, even with the new digital sign ordinance, it is not allowed in R4. So what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to rezone into general business so that they can again go in front of the BZA for a special exception for their digital or animated sign. As far as general business goes, we could have picked several different things, but in Sweetser, general business is kind of what they've got along Main Street. So they've got general business a block to the north and general business 2 blocks to the south. Again, this is along Main Street in Sweetser. So what they are asking for is a rezoning so they can go for a special exception.
You guys got anything you want to say?
It's basically, yeah, digital sign. What we're at.
You can say no. Anybody against this? We had discussions?
I know at Thursday's meeting, this topic did come up, knowing the process they wanted to do. In the past, we did recommend approval for a digital sign at the time. Unaware at that time that the property wasn't zoned properly. So we did discuss a little bit, not making it formal because there's nothing before us to really discuss yet officially. But the council is still kind of is favorably leaning towards approving a rezoning for this, knowing that they will also have to satisfy the special exception criteria.
What's your recommendation, Mr. Malott?
I give it a favorable recommendation. My biggest thing, like we've talked with Sweetser, is was there any opposition from the neighbors? Was this going to cause a problem with the neighbors? I don't believe.
We have not heard anything. Of course, sometimes you don't hear until it actually is installed. With the new side digital, there are controls as far as brightness and interference. I would hope or would think that the church would accommodate if it's too bright, even overnight, they can turn it off like 11 to 7. So those might be some things that going forward we may request or something like that. But in general, we feel okay with it.
Sweetser feels fine with it then.
Well, from the canvas I got, they were leaning towards it, so they'll come back to us probably next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but the following Thursday's meeting for official approval for a vote.
This is another one that I'll jump from meeting to meeting to meeting. Rezone to commissioners.
And then they will.
Then to Sweetser, then to BZA.
Because they withdrew it, right? So
No, not commissioners, I'm sorry.
it goes to us.
It's back to Sweetser.
So I'd make a
So this-
recommendation that we give a favorable recommendation on the rezoning.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Now,
Okay. Roll call.
Boswell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Greedy,
yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Cows,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Dix,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Al, you got anything for us?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Everybody got a chance to look at Ryan's director report? Have any questions or anything?
You've been busy, Ryan. You've been busy.
We haven't been able to talk about anything, so I just keep adding and adding.
I got a question for Ryan. Have you started the process of replacing your clerk that you're missing?
No, that was, to be brought up tonight. I've got this plus,
Why did we wait?
Huh?
Why did we wait for tonight to let him start the
Because
process?
I want to prove for the board, instead of me making a decision on my own, I felt like the board should make that decision.
Because it's not adding anybody, it's just replacing someone.
Just replace
right.
it.
Sandy, I sent it out to everyone. Sandy resigns, and she resigned in good terms. She's moving on to the YMCA, something easier, and she gets to swim and work with kids. So yeah, we are anxious to get the process started. If you'll remember, with Grace, it took 4 weeks to get applications in. If it does the same with this position, that puts us to the June meeting, and we don't meet in July. So this hopefully, we have got about 10 positions open in this building right now, and most of them are full-time. This is only a part-time position. So if I can't get applications in here and get someone in front of you guys to approve, we may go the whole summer one short.
You don't have the luxury of doing that with the workload.
It'd be to August before I could get someone back to get you guys to approve.
But could we have a special session like in July or something if there was candidates? That way you don't have to go all summer. I mean, I think it'd be silly to just leave us up there till,
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
Something we probably ought to consider, though, is whether or not replacement is actually necessary. I'm trying to think back. Before Grace came on, we had Sandy and Brenda in the office and was handling things, needed help. We got a full-time with Grace. Is there a reason why
Grace is part-time.
that Grace is part-time?
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought she was full-time.
We asked for full-time, they only gave us part-time.
Okay. So what's the possibility of adding, making Grace full-time and have her in that function? Would that be a possibility?
I would love to I could add 3 or 4 more full-time. I've got a list of years of stuff we gotta make it out.
But what I'm saying is that rather than looking for a second half-time person, we could have the person we already have at half-time, move that to full-time. And you would have somebody on hand immediately to.
But
That's a commissioner
but with that,
decision.
you're going from 28 hours to 35. So I'm losing, I mean, right now, I mean, Brenda can take a month off of vacation. I mean, we spend 1/3 of the year one short already because of all the time accrued. And we spent 4 months just trying to get an extra part-time. And again, I could use 2 more full-time easily.
My only question would be procedurally, would we have to go back to ask like commissioners and everyone else if that can even be done? So then we'd be
I'd have to
dragging,
go through last year's process.
then we would be dragging the process out even longer.
I would have to go through, talk to the council, and Frank's here, unless it was unanimous, then it moves on to a second meeting. So then it ends up being months.
If that's an option we'd like to pursue, that's great. I do like your idea. But if we need, from my understanding with the workload that they have and what I've seen them doing, getting another person to fill that spot as soon as possible would be a benefit to their department. And then we could talk on the side about whether we want to try to pursue that, and then that can be going on while they have their department full, at least at this point.
It would get further behind.
Right. That's one reason why I asked why we haven't started, because I was assuming since it was already just a spot that was filled and it was already there, we would have let him manage his department and then actively pursue those people and then bring them to us. That's kind of that, rather than waiting and then waiting, because that's what we put them into.
I was gonna move on, but then I had a couple phone calls, people questioning. So I figured, instead of me making a decision, we'll find out. I want to find out what everybody feels.
Well, I think we came out of, in November, out of Grace's situation. You know, again, I screwed up there and brought her,
Yeah,
we had an 11-0 vote to hire a new employee. And when we get into the state, it says with approval, I hire and fire, so that's what I did. I think coming out of that, I think Dr. Bothwell said, at the end of it, just made the statement that, you know, through the process and let us approve. So that's what I was hoping to do. I went back and even watched the video, so that's what I was hoping to do. The biggest thing is, I've just got to get the process started. We have got, we're getting emails and emails and emails of position open, full-time, position open, full-time.
Then I want to make the motion to allow them to at least start the process and get it going for the part-time position. We can discuss at a different time if the board's okay with it, the idea of pursuing a full-time person rather than the two part-time.
That'd probably be in the next budget cycle.
This is true, but we can always start talking about it now.
yeah.
But
Well,
we
and
need-
I've got something to talk about with that too.
So as far as gathering applications, maybe the executive board can help in the interview, or you narrow it down, get the executive board, if they got some type of consensus they can bring back to the whole board. I don't know if that would be kosher or not, but, to speed up the process. Because to have all this available, I mean, we could, I guess you could do interviews and whoever can make it, make it. I think that's how we did it when we hired like Kyle and different spots, is to, have open interviews. And those that could make it, but ideally, we'd have a few candidates within a month, maybe before the next meeting.
I'm hoping less than that.
Before the next meeting, and maybe have, the executive committee or,
But like I said, there's our job and there's full-time.
yep, it'd be tough.
And there's plenty of them in this building right
It'd
now.
be tough.
Well, I would second that motion to move the process along and let them open up for applications.
Okay, roll call.
Let's have a discussion here first, please. How many hours is Sandy, what are we talking about hours?
They are allowed to work, part-time is allowed to average 28 hours a week.
So
So what-
essentially, we're talking, we're not talking, Sandy did work 28 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not talking like a 20-hour, a half, it's not a true half-time, it's closer to a full-time than it is a half.
Full-time position's 35 with benefits.
So, but I think that's important to consider too. We're not really, we talk about a half-time position and we're really talking closer to a full-time position. And we're talking about, you know, money, et cetera, et cetera. So that needs to be considered at least before we jump in. I didn't realize Sandy was 28 hours. I thought she was 20.
Yeah, we talked to the council and the council removed, there was only 2 people who had that restriction in the whole county, and they removed it for us. So we were able to go 28 hours both. Sandy worked every day, and then Grace works Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 to 4. So then we've only got to get over Wednesday.
Was that the same situation when you were substituting for your dad? Was your dad, when he was half-time inspector, was that 28 hours or was that 20?
It was 8 to noon.
8 to noon. So that was,
8 to noon, and 8 to whenever we left, but it was 8 to noon what we got paid.
so it was 20 hours.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's confusing because we've got some 20-hour positions. We need to have all that out before us.
So with that, the other thing I'd like to talk about, when we talk about possibly looking at full-time positions.
You want to take roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, roll
Unless
call.
there's-
Bothwell,
Abstain. Not certain I want to go that direction here.
Frankel,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Kaus,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
and Todd.
Yes. What will the process be now? We're going to do that. I mean, how we go about it? Are we going to do this through the executive committee as we have in the past, or it seemed to me that office staff is under your jurisdiction. So are we process-wise going to allow you to get applicants and so on? And then are we then also going to grant authority for you to do the interview and to bring back a single candidate to us? Or do you want to involve the executive committee in that somewhere along the line, just so we know what our processes are?
Well, I mean, I'll leave that up to you. In my career, I have hired over 1,000 people. Generally, what we have done in the past, what we did for the other employees, is we took our applications, we got it down to 5, we had interviews, knocked it down to 2, interviewed again, and then brought them to you.
That's what I'm at. Who is the we when you talk about the interviews?
Usually me and Brenda. With Grace, I included Nicole because Grace was going to be Nicole's
The people
secretary.
in the staff. You guys would be the ones doing the interviewing then. Okay, and then you would bring back a single candidate then for our approval?
Mhm.
That's what you would say?
If that is okay with you.
Is that okay with everybody?
It's his office, I think.
Especially for a part-time person.
We have to have
West
faith
Loop.
for him to run this department. And if we're
West
unhappy with
Loop,
that,
the owner.
we can take it up with him on that aspect, but.
We're already running short of West Loop.
Yeah, exactly. You have to work with them. I have faith that you can run your department, so find the best candidate and bring him.
You know, we're short.
Do you want that in a motion for that procedure?
No, I just,
Okay.
just clarification of, how we're going about this is nobody gets their tail bent.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
I got
Just wanted to
anxious
make
in
sure
the
you didn't
past,
want-
I admit it.
It's okay.
I got ahead.
We're good.
With that, one of the things that we, and it's in the director's report, Rex and I were able to set in on software. We have talked about our software in our office is still from 1997. So one of the goals that we had, one of my goals for year 2 was to look at new software. We have talked to, had presentations from DocuSign, Cloud. There's been 3 or 4 of them. But Schneider Geo Permitting is ones who, they actually own Elevate. Elevate GIS is something that everyone in this building actually uses. So we set through a couple of their programs to kind of look and see what their permitting is like. Different things that they could do that would help Brenda as far as doing splits and some of that sort of stuff. We liked it enough that we actually brought in, Rex and I sat through it. We had commissioner representative, council representative, both IT, 2 other department heads, and they did a presentation in this room again. We kind of showed them our software and what our software was like compared to what they have with the geo permitting. And one of the things that was kind of neat, we had the assessor in here, we had health department, environmental in here, we had health department, food in here, and just looking at the permitting process, the other department heads who are seeing it for the first time started talking about, oh, that would let us do this and this and this and this. The thing with this software is, the software is not only for our office, it can be used in the entire building. And it puts parcels, whatever we are doing on a parcel, anyone else can see. So if we have a code enforcement case on something, the assessor can see it, the recorder can see it. If there's something going on with environmental and health, we can see it. So what was your take?
I thought it was a pretty good program, because
So-
everybody who was here was kind of agreeing they wanted it.
So what we have with it, it's, there's no kind of contracts or anything yet. This was just a, hey, let's look and see, and is this worth pursuing? Some of the cost on it, I think what Shane was talking about on cost, there's like a $30,000 start fee and then $7,000 per year to keep it going. And that's regardless if they just do our department or the whole building. And from that, pretty much the phone call I got the following day was Shane Middlesworth, our council president, said, okay, what's the next step? So I mean, I think he was even kind of excited about it. So I want to bring that to you guys to start thinking about it. It's something that we would put into our budget process for next year, so it's not something that has to be done right now. But we believe we found software that will work, that would be almost like adding a full-time employee. It is put a parcel number in and so much stuff is filled out. It generates emails to contractors. The time that we spend, or Aaron spends, going back to permits that no one's called for inspections for 6 months, it generates those friendly reminders. It lets the contractors almost fill out the whole permit without ever coming in, and generates schedules, payment. It's jaw-dropping for the
And it
most
made
part.
their job easier the way I took it, because the way I took it, if they had an iPad or a computer with them, a lot of stuff they had to jot down on paper to come back and put it on the program we had now. This program would allow them to do it right out on the field.
And we can actually, right now, we have got file cabinets upstairs that are full of plans for houses, for whatever. On our permits, because of our software, we write 1A so that we know on that permit, the plans are somewhere in that drawer. This would allow contractors to actually put those plans onto the computer so that not only do we have them, but we could be on the job site and look at them. So I mean, it's just really, it is incredible. And it would be like adding a full-time employee.
This is something we've been looking at for at least 5 years. Previous directors have been talking about how efficient our current system is and so on. So my opinion is, hey, pursue this, 100%. Let's go for that. I'd say do that.
And I would think that the whole county would brunt the cost, not just our department, it's gonna help other departments.
Right.
I'm sure the funding will come across the board.
And we'll be able to get our IT department up to speed, so the lower annual cost is so that they can come in a couple of times a month and help train and help set up forms. As our IT department gets more aware with that software, then we would have help at any time of the day, that, hey, we need this form to say this, this, and this, and they just come out to it. So it was kind of, I was hoping everyone would like it, and everyone behind me was like, well, hey, that'll let us, and then we can, so that was kind of neat.
How is this backed up?
Through the cloud. It's a cloud backup,
They
and
have
it's theirs.
Very safe.
Yep. Because, I mean, right now, you can get all of our stuff, you can get on the internet right now and look up any permit you want. But for the most part, Aaron will have a report that looks like that, and he's got 2 lines with 20 characters per line to try to get all this on. So a lot of our permits say, see, report, and then you see his handwritten notes.
My good handwriting.
Well, nobody has to read mine.
So with your blessing, I will move that forward and start getting with everyone I need to.
any other business?
You want that, would you want that in a motion, or you just want consensus?
I would, well,
I don't know
well, I
if
could
you
just say
want- I don't know
consensus
if
because
you
I
want
would
it
bring it
official.
back for budget if it's
Okay.
gotta go through budget.
Okay.
I would, I mean, it's gonna get presented to you before anything gets signed, so.
I didn't know if you just wanted to
Yeah.
do the official roll call on it to support it.
Anything else, Ryan? Oh, business.
Well, two things to be aware of. Metal Source is one of them, and we've been in contact, and to make sure you guys are aware, if you guys have not heard about Metal Source over here on 9th Street on the edge of Marion, and the issue they're having with noise and sound and the neighbors. Across the street is county property, and they own that also.
That's outside the fenced area? It's
Yes.
actually across the street
Yes.
going west?
Going west.
Okay.
So that is county property, that is our jurisdiction, it is zoned I-1. What they are wanting to do is allowed by right. They are wanting to put in a 12 to 14,000 square foot building for $1 million and put $1.5 million of equipment inside of it. And I don't know that there's anything that we can do because it is allowed, but I want you to be aware of that, because I have a feeling with everything Marion's hearing right now, as soon as a shovel hits the ground, they're gonna be here.
So, logistically, again, it's not right next to the building that they have. It's actually across the street, out in
That's what
County,
Buffalo,
the street is the county line.
Buffalo, yeah, Buffalo Avenue.
Yep.
So it's not gonna be within the contained area that they have fenced now.
No.
It'll be a completely,
Yep.
so separate. So
Yep.
that does remove that noise by, 100 yards or so from where the noise is now. Any additional noise would be.
Farther away from the neighborhood, yes. And we have our noise ordinance, and I sent all that screening, buffering, everything for industrial to him. In our decibel from the noise ordinance is a 0.75 decibel for 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes per 1 hour. If you've seen any of those videos on Facebook where they're trying to do interviews and while they're sitting there talking, you can't hear them because of all the noise 3 blocks away. That's kind of, I just want you guys to be aware that.
And me and Brian did talk, since it's so close to the city limits, we don't know for sure, but we got a feeling for the tax dollars, Marion might try to annex it. So be aware of that too.
They had a similar situation at Warren, I don't know if you're interested, with Saturn Wheel and I set up the natural gas over there because they were bringing those truckloads of aluminum wheels and they were just lifting the whole semi and dumping them, and I mean, it was loud.
Yep.
But I was wondering if, like on the state highways where they put those sound barrier walls, could they do something like that to help that out there on the east side of that?
We asked him, and he said it's not that he wasn't willing, they weren't asked to do it. And according to them, they can sit out there with the decibel reader, and they're well within their.
Well, Marion told him.
Yeah.
And he warned us about Marion. He said they all approved it but one person. And now I got 3 of the council members jumping me. And they called me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, wanted me to be at a 6 o'clock meeting out there. And I already had plans. He said, I won't go out there and get bombarded. I knew what was gonna happen.
Right.
He says, we are following, we're trying to say, why did we break your rule? You told us to do this, and we're doing it, we're willing to do it.
He seems to be, above board.
I drove out by there.
That's why I had to go out there, because I knew in the future,
Looked at,
if
they
they
weren't
built a new building,
doing much at that point.
are they gonna come at us and start yelling at the noise on it?
And he's working on their commercial design release right now, so it's coming.
Will they still be using the old building for,
Yeah, this is an expansion.
it'll still be making the noise it is now?
Yep. This will all be new
Oh, when
equipment.
I went out there, I sat there for 20 minutes in the driveway. They come out 3 different times, and all they did is had a small dumpster, and they took it and dumped it in the big one, and it's just normal bang, 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 and it's done, and they left.
Over there, they were dumping a whole semi and then they were taking a payloader and shoving them back towards where they were getting ready to put them in the oven, sorting them out. And that was one of the loudest places I've ever been, really.
Right.
And I worked at GM a couple of years when it was pretty loud out there in the early 70s, but that was nothing compared to that. But I went out by there and like Rex, I didn't think it was that bad.
No,
The
but
day
I
I was
knew.
there.
Right.
They were gonna come in, and when they build their property, there's about 1 residence out there causing the trouble. She'll probably be there when the new building comes up.
Yeah.
we can't do anything about building that is currently there.
Nope.
Nope, that's
If they said, you know, if we'd have been asked, we would probably have put the barriers up or whatever. So when it comes to us, we can make that.
I gave them everything on fencing, screening, buffering.
There's, you know, there's
And the
kind of
sound.
things they could do. So we need to deal with, you know, we don't need to look for trouble, but be prepared for what
Right.
happens. Okay.
Another thing to discuss would be the, I'm sure you guys have heard about Your Choice Digital. Again, they're out there building right now. Same kind of thing. It is I-1. They're allowed by right to do it. It's a $122 million investment. They've given us their CDR. They've got permits. They are currently building. What they had said in the council meeting, 2 council meetings ago, there was basically 20 megawatts available on the grid out there. Their hope is to use that 20 megawatts, help upgrade the substation, help upgrade the grid, and the more power they can get, the more they can expand. So again, we have a situation that we are starting to get feedback, and I'm sure some of you guys living over there have gotten a little bit of feedback. I've got calls saying, solar's great, when are you starting on the Bitcoin ordinance? So I mean, we're getting those calls. Again,
Do we have any control?
it's allowed by right. We've got, Aaron is, I think we're walking through it Wednesday?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. on Wednesday. We're going through it to look at construction and stuff, but
At this point, we really don't have jurisdiction.
they're talking to council about abatements. They got the address wrong, so it got moved back 1 meeting, so they'll be going to this next council meeting for a 3-year abatement.
It's outside of this. Okay.
But I just want, in case you guys get questions, that's kind of what's going on there.
What about Gas City? Bill Rock?
Bill Rock asked Lawrence, I think it's Lawrence? He asked the development person at that council meeting, hey, we want one in Gas City. So the story in the paper where it was talking about Gas City, I thought, where did that come from? So I called and I talked to Brad Klein over in Gas City. Brad said, I don't know what you're talking about. When I actually talked to them, he said, well, the mayor came up and said he wants one in Gas City too.
Are you talking about the story in the News Herald?
Yeah. So
I
according,
mean, they didn't talk very good about it.
no, that's what I thought. I thought, where did Gas City come into this? I didn't know anything about Gas City, and Gas City got involved in it because the mayor talked to them about putting one in Gas City.
But Bill Rock said in that story that they was gonna take time and evaluate it.
Yeah, he took it 2 days after the council meeting, he took it to the redevelopment commission in Gas City. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot of time for him to do any research before he introduced it. But Gas City has nothing to do with it.
That's a whole different jurisdiction also.
Yeah. Because when they want to do something as county land, they'll annex first into it. Because like me and Ryan talked, they got their new solar fence up, they're ready to build it. Like me and Ryan have been hearing, that's just the first phase of it.
Where's that at?
Right down by Gilman's.
I thought that's where this First Choice was going.
Yeah, they're doing a 10-acre solar farm, right next to Gilman's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the solar farm.
And then Vincy, what me and Ryan heard rumors about, Vincy, they wanna go on around, and there's a viaduct that's in the future, and they'll probably,
Well,
if
there's,
they have their way, they'll probably end up down 500.
well, I don't know about, Reserve Energy is one of those companies that's snooping around the county.
Yeah, Chinese.
I talked to that guy 5 months ago, and he was interested in property between Walmart and I-69 in that area. So at the same time, Gas City was talking about their farm, so I thought they might be one and the same. So I talked to Bill, And Bill said, oh, this is only gonna be like a little 10 megawatt farm. I said, okay, that's not what we're talking about. So one of the projected, again, 5 months ago, was a solar farm around between Walmart and I-69. And that guy's never called back, so I never heard from him, he's never been to our meetings.
Because the grid's right there, and the substation, gas city's got a big substation.
But that one's not gonna be as big as 100 north, 600.
100.
Is that where they're working on right now? 100 north.
No, you're talking you're talking cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
That's
I
two
don't know,
different
I don't
things.
know that they even have plans for it. I think it just got introduced on a whim.
Where is Bitcoin now? What is that location?
It is on 100 north, and it dead ends at I-69. So if you come off of 500, turn right on 100 north till it stops. It's on the backside of a substation.
And some people have asked questions about it, and it's already been zoned when they put that subject. It was zoned right, so what they're doing, they're legally allowed to do.
I had a lady ask for a meeting with me, and we set up the meeting for 10 o'clock, and we're sitting in here, and the lady comes in and says, oh, hey, and I said, hey, how you doing? Why don't we'll go in here and talk, and I walked out in the hallway, and there's 10 other people sitting out there. So we went up to the commissioner's conference room to talk about the Bitcoin. So it's out there, I mean, they're wanting to know, they're gonna come and talk to you guys, and
Yeah, so I heard people at the last commissioners meeting, they're already talking to farmers out there, trying to buy more land.
the more power they've got, the bigger they can get. That's kind of the way they presented it to the council.
And I believe they're gonna try and maybe build one in Oklahoma, from what they said. They're looking at areas in there. Yeah, this thing's only 2 miles from me.
Okay.
And they started working there in March.
Right, clearing. I went out last week to look at it, and I talked, Rex Collins is doing all the electric out there. And I got with Aaron, and Aaron got with the head honcho.
The head contractor.
Yeah, so we're meeting with him and the subcontractors Wednesday to walk it, to go through it. You guys ready to leave yet?
I hear there's basketball games on.
Oh, so for the most, I mean, if you guys ever have questions about anything, I mean, some of this is to particular areas, give me a call. Normally we talk about this, I put it together so we wouldn't hear it on midnight.
Anything else, Ryan?
Oh, one other thing. We did start and almost done with Du Bois Street in Jonesboro today for an unsafe structure demolition, which puts us at 18 demolitions since April 2021. Du Bois Street over in Jonesboro.
It's got a varying address, but it's right there at 211 East Du Bois. We're right there currently. The house, it was owned by Mallison, I believe his last name was. He's a teacher at IU. But what's really been amazing is that we went and used Central Waste Management with here in Marion. I haven't called any replacements today, and they've already replaced 3. They're on site, ready to go. They pulled off 3, from what I was told, they pulled off the 2 that they originally had. They've dropped down 3, and none of those we had to call on. They were right on site to swap out for us. And we're almost finished. I think we can be finished on Wednesday, which right now is the fastest we've done with any building, especially with the 2-story but in the case of this house, it's almost like our hoarder's house, but the situation that happened is the area flood, and the grandmother that was living there just up and left everything because it was all underwater, and she never went back. Unfortunately, she passed before she can get back into it, and it's just sat there for years. So with one that's close to a hoarder's house that we've already took down on Bocock Road, we're already down to 2 days on it and almost finished compared to a week and a half when we were with the other company.
You might wanna tell them why you changed companies.
Yeah, we'll get
Well,
there.
we told Bedbox, we were wasting so much time. We had the highway department sitting there waiting on dumpsters. So, you know, if we had no dumpsters, then they just, well, okay, jumped in the truck and left. So we lost days. We had one that we did over in the west side of Grant County. It should have took a half a day, that ended up being almost 3 days because of dumpsters. So finally, even after talking to them, saying, hey, you guys are costing us so much time, we thought we'll try. And that's kind of in here too. We'll try this. We talked to Marion uses them, and Jerry was, yeah, they're great. So we've tried it, and our first experience is they're great. They're local. Even Chuck Polling, you know, said, hey, you ought to use them. So far, so good. Biggest thing about 18 demolitions that Nicole has been able to achieve in the last year is more than we've got down in the last 20 by the numbers. So she is really working hard, almost to a point that she's running out of demos. So she's almost to that, let's get back into court and start working towards the winter.
Yeah, we've got 2 court hearings coming up, one this month. It's with Morris Kelsey, not with Kyle. We're taking Whitehead. They're on 406 3rd Street, I believe. We're finally gonna get that house tore down, and then we're working, me and Kyle are going to court in June for, I can't think of the name now.
Mondo leader.
Yeah, in Van Buren. Thank you for Van Buren,
I was
so.
just getting ready to ask what's the deal with Van Buren.
Is that the hold up there on that one building, is that?
Yep, that's the
Colonel
only thing.
after
We've got
her.
everything else
I know.
ready to go, just Moto Leader was the only one. And of course, I was sending emails to, or not emails, I was sending letters to Moto Leader in California. Kyle actually found where the owner lived, and that's where we were sending the letters. So we finally got contact for the court to allow us to be presented. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Who is Mondo leader?
They're the middle owners. They're the ones that own the majority of the building. So like the building is separated by 4 owners. You've got the little building that's kind of like more wood than it is brick is owned by 1 owner. The portion that's falling down is owned by another owner. Then you've got the main middle part is owned by Moto, and then there's a small portion owned by another owner.
See, that should have never happened.
How did that ever happen?
I don't know. It should have never happened. And I've talked to a couple of state legislatures about there needs to be a law to the effect that that should not happen on a blighted building. You know, where it goes to taxes 2 or 3 times and then somebody just walks it off and then somebody else buys it for taxes. We need
From what I
a way to
heard,
stop that.
the way it got sold, the gentleman actually lied about the structure of the building and put up pictures of a completely different renovated building. So when Moto Leader and the 2 on the outside bought this building, they were expecting to move in and start businesses right away.
Yeah.
So they bought it unseen until they actually got to site and realized that they were lied to.
The gentleman I talked to from Jacksonville, Florida, that bought the east end at one time, thought he bought that whole building. I mean, it was presented to him like he bought the whole building, and he called me, you know, wanting to know.
Oh, and
He
from
had-
his story, it sounded like it was kind of depressing because he was actually gonna do an art thing
Yeah.
for autistic children. So for him to be
He was pretty
messed around, that
upset
was bad.
when I told him he didn't have all the building.
When did Weavers actually initially sell that?
What happened, Weavers was gonna demo it, they hired Dick Bragg to demo it. Well, what happened was, Dick says, hey, at that time, it was still a good building. Dick says, it's kinda silly, the town shouldn't lose that building, maybe they can get a grocery store or something in there. And Weaver said, tell you what, we'll just deed it to you, and you handle it. Well, Dick took it, and he sold it, he ended up selling it to the Homeyer guy from Huntington that had to tool his brother. That started all of it, and somehow between then and now, it got broke up into 4 different pieces. I don't know how that happened, but it shouldn't.
Well, I believe the one on the corner that's on the Cerberus, which is closer to the
Yeah.
actual tavern, I think they've owned that building way longer because it doesn't have the same address as the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, that was up the Howard Agency posted.
Question I have, what's going on at Main and Pearl on Jeff Road?
Main and Pearl.
The house on the corner with
Oh.
guy's car, because the
No
reason why
response,
I'm asking
basically.
that, He's the same guy from Matthews, it's you guys from Matthews, he's your pallet man that you guys gotta clean up. And he's getting that yard looking that way he did in Matthews.
Well, unfortunately, the owner of the property is Laura Hunt, which from my understanding, no longer lives at that property. He's not responding to any of the letters, and unless I can get into the actual property to see the house, the only thing I can do is try to get the judge to agree for us to hire a crew to go and clean it up. But with the way that property is, it's so hard, and of course, I was supposed to meet up with the neighbors to go and actually see the property from their balcony, and they never once called us. So of course, the pictures I have is through a spotted fence that at this time.
I knew you wanted pictures. Last month, we threw out Easter eggs, fire department did.
Yeah.
And when I was on top of the fire truck and I went by there, he's got it clear up to the fence, clear across the whole yard. You can't even get in the backyard. If
And the
there's a
vehicles-
fire back there, stand in the street and shoot water.
The vehicles, when I went to go check all the vehicles, they were all plated. There's nothing I can do to
Yeah,
the
I
plated
know with
ones.
them, but I mean, his backyard is what I'm worried about because
I would love
kinda
to see
looks
it so
like
I have
Matthews,
pictures
but I
for the judge.
remember what pallet looked like or Matthews. He got that yard looking terrible.
Well, there's a pile of dirt there that's about as big as the pallets.
So, we got anything else? Anybody from the public got anything they wanna say before we close?
Move for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn. Yeah, get to be looking